This video is about Hermes delivers secret message until Hades interferes. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. Part 1. Hermes delivers a secret message until Hades interferes. In the realm of Ithurian, where gods and mortals danced upon the strings of fate, the winds whispered secrets only the swiftest could carry. Among these was Hermes, the messenger of Olympus, known for his quicksilver feet and cunning wit. On this fateful day, he was tasked with a message that contained the weight of destiny itself, a fragile thread that could bind or shatter the fates of gods and men alike. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting golden rays across the verdant fields of Elysium, Hermes donned his winged sandals and took flight. The sun painted his silhouette against the amber sky, a harbinger of the trials to come. The message he bore was from Zeus, the king of gods, destined for Ileana, the fierce warrior queen of the Northlands. It spoke of an impending invasion led by the dreaded Titan, Kronos, who longed to claim the realm of Ithurian as his own, seeking vengeance against the heavens. The air crackled with tension as Hermes sought through cloudy realms, dodging flocks of golden eagles and bursts of divine lightning. Each beat of his heart echoed the urgency of his quest. The fate of Ithurian rested on Ileana's shoulders. The message, engraved upon a shimmering scroll of celestial papyrus, threatened to change the course of history. Yet, unbeknownst to Hermes, shadows stood in the depths of the underworld. Hades, the god of the dead, had been watching with intrigue. The darkness within him seethed with ambition, for he saw an opportunity within the chaos. He summoned his minions, the vengeful Furies, whispering wicked plans into their ears. The fabric of fate was malleable, and he intended to seize its threads. Meanwhile, Hermes landed gracefully at the base of Ileana's fortress, a towering citadel of stone that loomed against the northern sky. The scent of pine and the sound of clashing steel filled the air, for the queen was preparing her warriors for battle. As he approached the gates, majestic banners flapping in the chill wind, he was met by a cadre of fierce guards, their eyes sharp and ready. "State your business, Hermes," one guard grumbled, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. With a flourish, Hermes revealed his wings, shimmering and ethereal. "A message of utmost importance from Zeus. I must speak to Queen Ileana at once." The gods hesitated. No one defied Hades lightly, and the specter of Dimhana ran them like a thick fog. Yet the urgency in Hermes' eyes, combined with his divine essence, compelled them to relent. They led him through the fortress, winding through corridors adorned with intricate carvings of battles fought and won. As he entered the grand hall, the atmosphere shifted with intensity. Ileana stood atop a dais, her stature regal, her armor gleaming like the morning sun. Her long, raven hair flowed like a river of night, and her eyes burned with the fire of a warrior. She exuded power, yet the weight of impending war lay heavy upon her shoulders. "Hermes," she greeted, her voice a blend of strength and grace. "What news do you carry?" With reverence, Hermes unfurled the scroll, its contents shimmering under the flickering torchlight. "Queen Ileana, the Titan Kronos stirs in the depths of time. He plots an invasion that could bring ruin to Ithurian. You must rally your forces." Ileana's brow furrowed as she listened, her heart racing at the thought of her people at risk. "Then we shall prepare for war. We will not kneel to a Titan." As she spoke, a sudden chill swept through the hall, extinguishing the torches within a natural draught. The air thickened, and shadows coalesced, twisting into the form of Hades, the lord of the underworld. His presence cast a pall over the warriors, and an unsettling silence enveloped the room. "Ah, Hermes," Hades drawled, his voice a smooth, silken thread. "The delivering messages that could tip the scale. How delightful." Hermes straightened, his heart pounding. "Hades, this is not your realm. Leave while you can." Such boldness from the messenger. Hades smirked, his pale features illuminated by the dying light. "But this message you carry is a dangerous spark in a dry forest. Shall we extinguish it?" Ileana stepped forward, her voice unwavering. "You dare to threaten me in my own hall. Hades, my warriors will never bow to the likes of you." Hades' laughter was a chilling melody that echoed like the tolling of funeral bells. "Your warriors are but souls, Ileana, and I command those who traverse the veil. You may prepare for war, but the dead do not forget." Suddenly, shadows erupted from the ground, coiling around Ileana's feet like serpents. The Furies, their eyes ablaze with fury, surged forth, their voices a cacophony of anguish and rage. "Bow to Hades, or your fate shall mirror those you seek to protect." With a defiant roar, Ileana unsheathed her sword, the steel gleaming with the light of the gods. "I will not bow. I will fight for my people, even against the tyranny of shadow." Hermes, recognizing the impending chaos, summoned his divine speed. "Ileana, we must act swiftly. The message will not reach its destination if we linger here. But before their escape could be initiated, Hades raised a hand, casting a spell that enveloped the hall in darkness. The very fabric of reality warped as the boundaries between realms began to blur. You cannot escape me, messenger. I will seize that message before it seals your fate. Eliana charged forward, her sword clashing against the shadows that sought to consume her. The Furies encircled her, their claws glistening with malice. We will feast on your despair, one hiss, lunging for her throat. In a swift maneuver, Eliana struck, her blade slicing through the air and connecting with the Fury. The creature screeched, dissipating into wisps of darkness. Yet the numbers were against her, and their malevolence surged like a tempest. Fight, Eliana, fight. Hermes urged, his voice cracking with urgency. He grasped the scroll tightly, feeling the pulse of destiny thrumming within it. With every strike, Eliana felt the weight of her ancestors upon her shoulders, their honor, their blood, and their unyielding spirit. As she battled, she knew that this was not just a fight for survival, it was a fight for her legacy. She would not let Hades claim her soul, nor that of her people. Just then, a sudden surge of power swept through the hall, and a blinding light broke through the darkness. It was the hand of Zeus himself, reaching down from Olympus, illuminating the shadows. Enough, Hades, you tread a treacherous path. Hades recoiled, frustration etched across his face. This is not over. Brother, you will regret intervening. With a final wave of his hand, he summoned a whirlpool of shadows, dragging the Furies back into the depths of his realm. As the darkness receded, Hermes seized the moment. Eliana, we must flee. The message must reach the gods before it is too late. With determination blazing in her eyes, Eliana nodded. Together, they dashed toward the fortress gates, the sound of chaos fading behind them. But even as they escaped, the shadow of Hades lingered in their minds, a constant reminder of the trials yet to come. The fight for Ithurian had only just begun, and the threads of fate wove tighter around them. Destiny was a fickle mistress, and in this grand tapestry, honor would be tested, tragedies would unfold, and the very essence of perseverance would be their guiding star. As they breached the threshold of the fortress, a storm gathered on the horizon, dark clouds swelling ominously. They knew that the war against Kronos would demand every ounce of strength they possessed. But together, they would face the tempest, unwavering in their resolve. And so, with the weight of the message still heavy in Hermes' hands, they ventured into the unknown, the echoes of fate cascading around them like a haunting melody. This was only the beginning of their legendary tale, a saga forged in the fires of battle, where the heart of a warrior would rise against the shadows of despair. # to be continued. # Part 2, The Gathering Storm. The wind howled as Hermes and Eliana tore through the forest, each step echoing the urgency of the moment. Their hearts raced, beating a frantic rhythm of adrenaline and fear. Behind them, the shadows of Hades lingered, an ever-present reminder that darkness sought to consume them. Yet, deep within Eliana's chest, a fire raged, a beacon of hope that could not be extinguished. Where do we go? Eliana shouted, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of the wind. The trees, ancient sentinels of the realm, bowed beneath the weight of impending doom, their leaves rustling in ominous whispers. North, to the Valley of Elders, we must gather allies, or Kronos will find us weak and vulnerable. Hermes replied, his wings fluttering as he led the way, dodging branches that clawed at him like the fingers of the dead. As they ran, flashes of Eliana's past ignited her resolve, memories of her training with the fiercest warriors of the Northlands, the blood of her ancestors calling to her. They had faced insurmountable odds before, and she would not falter now. But with each step, the weight of Hades' threat bore heavily on her heart. Suddenly, the earth shook beneath their feet, and the sky darkened further. Kronos' influence is already spreading, he senses our fear. Hermes exclaimed, glancing back toward the horizon where black clouds churned, ominously casting shadows over the land. The ground split open with a deafening roar, revealing a pit of swelling darkness, an abyss conjured by Hades' dark magic. From it surged a creature of nightmares, a cyclops, its single eye glowing with malice. Its massive form towered above them, muscles rippling like steel, wielding a club that could shatter mountains. "That?" Eliana shouted, leaping forward, her sword raised high. "We must not succumb to fear." She charged, her blade glinting like a star as she struck at the Cyclops, the roar of battle fueling her fury. Hermes, however, was no fighter. He darted around the beast with the speed of thought, distracting it with his divine agility. Eliana aimed for its eye, that is its weakness, he cried out, his voice sharp as a blade. With renewed focus, Eliana pivoted, her heart pumping fury into her veins. She leaped, a warrior born of fire and steel, and aimed for the Cyclops' eye. The beast howled in pain as her blade connected, the sound echoing through the valley like a death knell. Enraged, the Cyclops swung its club, the air crackling as it cut through the space where Eliana had stood just moments before. She rolled away, her breath hitching as she narrowly avoided being crushed. "Come, Hermes, aid me!" Eliana shouted, determination etched across her face. But Hermes was already in motion, grasping a handful of sparkling dust from his pouch. "By the will of the gods, I summon the winds." He tossed the dust into the air, and a tempest whirled around the Cyclops, disorienting it. The beast staggered, its balance lost. "Eliana, now!" Hermes shouted, his voice piercing through the chaos. With a fierce cry, Eliana charged once more, her sword raised like a comet streaking through the dark. With a swift motion, she plunged the blade into the Cyclops' eye, fury and honor intertwining in a dance of destiny. The titanic creature fell, its roar silenced, the ground trembling as its body hit the earth. Panting, Eliana pulled her sword free, her heart racing as she faced Hermes. "We cannot linger, we have to reach the Valley of Elders." As they sprinted from the battlefield, the ground beneath them began to hum with energy. The echoes of the Cyclops' defeat would surely summon more creatures of darkness. Yet, as they journeyed deeper into the forest, the air shifted and an unseen presence lingered among the trees, watching. The Valley of Elders lay ahead, a sacred place where wisdom and strength converged. Eliana felt the pull of destiny, as if the spirits of her ancestors guided her steps. "What if they refuse to fight?" she said, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "They will not," Hermes assured her, his eyes bright with conviction. "They are warriors like you. You are their queen, and they will answer your call. But fate is the cruel mistress." As they entered the valley, they were met with an unsettling sight. The elders had gathered, but their faces were shrouded in shadows, their expressions grim. At their center stood Dorian, the elder of the north, his silver hair catching the light like a halo. "Eliana," he called, his voice a mixture of pride and sorrow. "You seek the aid of the elders, but darkness looms over us. We have felt the stirrings of Hades and Kronos." Eliana stepped forward, her heart pounding. "Elder Dorian, we must unite to combat the coming storm. Kronos seeks to crush our realm, and Hades he will stop at nothing to see us fall." Dorian's gaze bore into hers, filled with unspoken wisdom. "We have not forgotten our oaths, but the balance of Etherian has been disturbed. Sacrifices may be required. Are you ready to pay the price?" Hermes interjected, his voice urgent. "We do not have time for deliberation. The Titans are rising, and Hades will not rest until he is your souls." The elders murmured, their eyes glinting with ancient knowledge. Dorian raised his hand for silence. "We shall convene, but Eliana must prove her worth. A trial awaits you, one that will test your spirit against the shadows of despair." Eliana nodded resolutely. "Who must I face?" "Your own fears," Dorian replied, his voice low. "In the Cave of Echoes, you will confront not only the darkness but the very essence of despair that seeks to claim you." Eliana felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, yet she knew she could not back down. "Then I shall go. I will face my fears and return with the strength of the elders behind me." Dorian stepped back, an ancient scroll unfurling in his hands. "Very well, brave queen. Gather your spirit, for the trial lies ahead." As Eliana ventured into the Cave of Echoes, shadows danced upon the walls, twisting and shifting with the light of her resolve. The air grew thick with dread, and whispers curled around her like tendrils of smoke, speaking her innermost fears. "You are unworthy," a voice hissed, echoing off the cavern walls. "You will fail, just as your ancestors did." "Silence!" Eliana shouted, her voice ringing with defiance. "I am not my past, I carry the strength within me." With each step deeper into the cave, illusions took form, visions of her warriors falling, her kingdom in ruin, and the faces of those she loved twisted in anguish. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but with every vision, she felt her spirit surge. "I will not relent, I will protect what is mine." The shadows roared in protest, swirling around her as she gripped her sword tightly. "You cannot hide from your truth," they cried, their voices merging into a deafening chorus of despair. But Eliana stood firm. "I embrace my truth, I am a warrior. I will fight for my people, for honor, for love." With that proclamation, the shadows recoiled, shrieking as light poured from Eliana's heart, illuminating the darkness. The cave quaked, and the walls trembled, the echoes of her courage shattering the illusions that sought to bind her. Exiting the cave, Eliana emerged drenched in sweat but imbued with newfound strength. "Hermes," she called, spotting him waiting at the entrance. Worry etched across his face. "You did it," he breathed, rushing to her side. "The elders will see your spirit is unbroken. They will fight with us." But as they turned to rejoin the council, a sudden chill swept through the air and the ground trembled ominously underfoot. The sky darkened and a familiar voice rippled through the ether. Hades was near. Foolish queen, Hades' voice echoed, smooth as silk yet dripping with malice. You believe you can turn the tides against me? I will feast on your despair. Ileana and Hermes exchanged a glance, the weight of their mission crashing down upon them. They had awakened an ancient power, and now the gods themselves would be drawn into the fray. Yet together, Ileana whispered, her voice laced with determination. We will face him, Frithurian. And with renewed resolve, they stepped forward, ready to rally the warriors of the Northlands. Destiny awaited them, and the price of honor was steep, but they would not falter. The storm was gathering, and within its heart, the echoes of fate would forge a new legend. Hash to be continued. Hash Part 3, The Gathering Shadows. As Ileana and Hermes stepped from the sacred grove, the sky above Etherian darkened ominously, swelling with unnatural hues. The elders murmured amongst themselves, their expressions a mix of reverence and concern. Ileana felt the weight of their gazes, each one carrying the legacy of 1,000 battles fought and won. She was their queen, and she would not falter now. Hades is on the move, Elder Dorian spoke, his voice grave as the thunder that rolled across the horizon. The shadows he commands are restless. We must prepare, and we must prepare now. Ileana straightened, her heart pounding like a war drum. What must I do? I will not let darkness swallow Etherian without a fight. Gather your warriors, Dorian commanded, his eyes glowing with the wisdom of ages. We shall fortify our defenses at the bastion of the north. It is our last stronghold against the tides of despair that Hades and Kronos seek to unleash. Hermes nodded, his wings fluttering with urgency as he moved among the elders. I will summon the wind riders. They can traverse the skies and bring word to those who dwell beyond the mountains. We must unite our forces before the tempest strikes. As he spoke, the atmosphere crackled with tension. The elders prepared their magic, ancient runes glowing with pulsing energy. Ileana felt hope ignite within her, but it was quickly shattered by the looming threat that Hades represented. Do you truly believe we can stand against him? Ileana whispered to Hermes, her voice tinged with uncertainty. We have no choice, Hermes returned, his expression fierce. You have faced your fears, now embrace your strength. You are the heart of this battle. Nodding resolutely, Ileana summoned her warriors, a fierce band of fighters who had sworn to protect the Northlands. As they gathered beneath the ancient banners, a fire ignited in her chest. Brothers and sisters, our land stands on the brink of annihilation. The Titan Kronos seeks to reclaim his dominion, and Hades plots to feast upon our despair. The warriors roared in response, a clash of steel and spirit echoing through the valley. Among them stood her most trusted generals, Kale, the fiery swordsman, Mira, the skilled archer, and Thalan, the wise knight. Each of them embodied the strength of the Northlands, and together they would stand against the darkness. Hades will not stop until he has taken what is ours. Kale shouted, his voice booming like thunder. We will not yield, we will fight. As the declaration of war filled the air, Ileana felt the pulse of destiny. Then let us march, she cried, her sword raised high. For honor, for Etherian. The warriors formed ranks, their spirits ignited by her words, and marched toward the bastion of the north, a massive fortress carved into the mountains, its walls steeped in the blood of ancient battles. Ileana led them, her heart steady, but the shadows of doubt clawed at the corners of her mind. As they approached the fortress, they found it fortified, elders casting protective wards and glyphs upon its walls. The very air hummed with the energy of their magic, a comforting embrace amidst the encroaching darkness. But even as they prepared their defenses, the ground trembled beneath their feet. Look! Mira shouted, pointing toward the horizon. Dark shapes loomed, a twisted army of monstrous creatures emerging from the shadows. Dragons, serpentine beasts of nightmare, their scales glinting like obsidian, surged forth with a chorus of screeching roars. The Titans are here! Ileana shouted, rallying her warriors. Stand ready, we will not falter. As the first wave of dragons descended upon the fortress, Ileana unleashed her battle cry. For Etherian. She charged, sword raised, her heart a drumbeat of courage. The clash of metal rang like divine music beneath the darkened sky. Hermes soared overhead, darting between the dragons with unmatched agility. Aim for their underbellies, they are vulnerable there, he called, his voice cutting through the chaos. Ileana's warriors responded, their arrows and blades finding their marks as the creatures swooped low. Kale's sword cleaved through the air, striking true as the dragon fell, its cry a discordant note in the symphony of battle. Keep pushing, they will break, he roared, emboldening his comrades. Yet amid the chaos, Eliana felt a chill race down her spine, a familiar presence she couldn't shake. She turned, her heart sinking as Hades emerged from the swirling shadows, his dark cloak billowing like a tempest. "Foolish mortals," he mocked, his voice smooth but dripping with venom. "You believe you can stand against the inevitable. Your hearts will break, and your spirits will shatter. It back." Eliana bellowed, her sword gleaming in defiance. "We will not submit to your tyranny, Hades." "Such fire." Hades chuckled, eyes gleaming with malice. "Let us see how long it lasts." With a wave of his hand, shadows erupted from the ground, swelling into monstrous forms. Nightmares come alive. "Fight," Eliana commanded. "Fight with all your might." She hurled herself into the fray, her sword dancing like firelight amidst the darkness. She struck down a shadow creature that lunged at her, its howl echoing around them. But Hades was relentless. He raised his staff, summoning a torrent of darkness that swept over the battlefield, extinguishing the light and filling the air with despair. "You think your courage will save you? Feel the weight of your failures." Eliana stumbled, her breath caught in her throat as memories of loss flooded her mind, the faces of fallen warriors and the cries of those who had perished in her quest for honor. The shadows pressed in, whispering her doubts and regrets. "No," she cried, shaking her head furiously. "I will not let you break me." Drawing upon the strength of her ancestors, she pushed past the darkness, feeling the warmth of their spirits igniting her resolve. "Together!" Hermes shouted, his voice breaking through the suffocating despair. "We must unite our spirits." As if responding to his call, the warriors rallied around Eliana, their hearts beating as one. Kale raised his sword, a beacon of hope. "For the Northlands, for our fallen." As they fought, the shadows began to wane, the combined strength of his spirits pushing back against Hades' magic. Eliana felt the surge of power within her, the essence of every warrior who had ever fought for their home coiling around her like a shield. With a fierce battle cry, she charged toward Hades, her sword glowing with the light of the gods. "You will not claim our souls, we are stronger than you will ever know." Hades glared, his eyes narrowing as he summoned the shadows to defend him. "Foolish girl, you cannot comprehend the darkness that dwells within." But Eliana's spirit blazed brighter than the shadows. She struck, her blade piercing through the darkness, and in that moment the shadows recoiled. "You are nothing but a coward hiding in the dark." The fortress wall shuddered as a clash of light and darkness reached its zenith. Hades staggered, caught off guard by Eliana's unyielding resolve. "This cannot be," he spat, fury flashing in his eyes. But Eliana pressed forward, her sword a radiant beacon. "Let it be known, we are the warriors of Etherian. We will fight for our legacy, for our future." With one final strike, she plunged her sword deep into the heart of the darkness, a burst of light exploding outwards. It engulfed Hades, forcing him to retreat, his form dissolving into shadows. "This is not over, Eliana. The darkness will always return." As the shadows dissipated, the warriors cheered, their voices rising against the darkened sky. They had fought back against despair, and for now, they had won. But Eliana knew it was only a temporary reprieve. The battle against Kronos and Hades had only just begun. Breathless, she turned to her warriors, their eyes reflecting the fire of victory. "We have overcome darkness today, but the storm still gathers. We must prepare for what comes next." "Eliana!" Hermes called, his face alight with exhilaration. "The Wind Riders have returned. They bear news from allies across Etherian. They flock to our cause." Eliana's heart surged with hope, and she raised her sword high once more. "Then let us unite. We will call upon every warrior, every spirit willing to stand against the tide of shadows." As they began to organize their forces, a new dawn broke on the horizon, piercing the darkness with golden rays. It was a reminder of resilience and the promise of battle still to come. Together, they would rise against the tide of darkness, forging their destinies in the fires of honor and bravery. The war for Etherian had begun, and Eliana knew that with every stride. They were not merely fighting for survival, they were crafting their legend, a legend that would echo through. ## Part 4, The Dance of Shadows and Light. As the sun rose over the bastion of the north, a sense of hope permeated the air, mingling with the still echoing cries of victory. The warriors had become a cohesive force, their spirits buoyed by the triumph over Hades and his shadows. Yet Eliana could not shake the unease that gnawed at her. The battle had been fierce, but it felt like merely a prelude to the storm brewing on the horizon. "Gather the warriors, Hermes," she commanded, her voice ringing clear. "We must prepare for what lies ahead." Hermes nodded, his wings unfurling with a flourish. "The Wind Riders have spread the word far and wide. Allies will arrive at dawn as light, and we shall unite our forces against Kronos." The promise of reinforcement stirred excitement in the hearts of the Northland warriors. They began to sharpen their weapons, each stroke of the blade resonating with a newfound determination. Eliana walked among them, her presence igniting their spirits. But beneath her confidence lay a flicker of doubt, a whisper of fear that Hades' intervention was merely the beginning. Queen Eliana called Kael, his fiery blue eyes reflecting the resolute spirit of his sword. We have faced the shadows and emerged stronger. With each war that joins our cause, we shall form an impenetrable wall against Kronos' wrath. Eliana placed a hand on Kael's shoulder, appreciating his unwavering support. You speak truth, Kael, but we must be vigilant. Hades' darkness is cunning. He will not rest until he sees us broken. As the sun began to rise higher, casting a golden light over the bastion, a familiar figure emerged from the trees, a silhouette framed by the dawn. It was Elder Dorian, his silver hair glinting like a halo, flanked by the other elders. Their expressions were grave, their presence an unspoken reminder of the weight of the world they carried. Eliana, Dorian said, his voice a mix of sorrow and resolve. We gather here today not only as warriors, but as guardians of Ithurian. We have heard whispers from the winds. Kronos is mobilizing an army, and Hades is plotting in the shadows. Then we shall meet them head-on, Eliana declared, her heart pounding with fierce resolve. No more will we cower in the face of darkness. We will rise as one. The elders shared solemn glances, acknowledging the gravity of her words. Then let our magic guide your path, brave queen, Dorian said. A trial of unity awaits you, a vision of what is to come. Eliana's heart raced. A vision? With a nod, Dorian unfurled an ancient scroll, runes etched in a language lost to time glowing with ethereal light. The air shimmered around them, and the ground trembled as the enchantment took hold. Eliana felt her consciousness expand, blurring the lines between the present and a possible future. Suddenly, the vision enveloped her, a swelling vortex of images revealing a great battlefield, darkened skies pregnant with thunder, and creatures of unimaginable horror marching under the banner of Kronos. Amidst the chaos, Eliana saw her warriors fighting valiantly, but shadows overwhelmed them, their cries of despair piercing her heart. No, she screamed, breaking free from the vision. The world around her crackled with energy, the elder's magic waning as she struggled to regain her composure. We cannot allow this to happen. Dorian's voice echoed through her mind. This is not the only future, Eliana. You possess the power to change it, but first, you must unite the forces of Ithurian. Only together can you challenge the shadow. With newfound fervor, Eliana turned to her warriors, their faces filled with confusion and concern. This vision shows us the potential for despair, but it also reveals our strength. We can forge our destiny, gather the troops. We will meet Kronos and Hades with fire in our hearts. As the warriors rallied, the atmosphere crackled with determination. The battle plans took form as if guided by the hands of the gods themselves. Eliana divided her forces. Mira and Kael would lead the archers on a ridge, while Thalan would command the infantry at the fore. Hermes, with his unmatched speed, would weave between the lines, delivering messages with the swiftness of the wind. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, whispers of the impending battle swirled among the warriors. They gathered around a great fire, the flames flickering in the shadows. Eliana stood at the center, her sword raised high. Tonight, we prepare not just our bodies but our spirits. We fight for our families, our homes, and the future of Ithurian. We will not yield to the darkness. Cheers erupted around the fire, echoing into the night. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath them as if the earth itself was reacting to their courage. Eliana's heart raced with anticipation. The time for battle was near. As dawn broke, the skies turned an ominous grey, mirroring the tension that hung in the air. Eliana's forces marched toward the battlefield, the horizon dotted with figures cloaked in shadows, the legions of Kronos, monstrous titans and twisted creatures that crawled forth from the depths of despair. Through the fog of war, Eliana's voice rang clear. Warriors, steel your hearts, we face the embodiment of chaos itself. The clash of metal erupted like thunder across the field, and the battle began. Eliana fought at the forefront, her sword a deadly dance as she struck down a hulking beast, a minotaur with horns like jagged mountains. Each swing was fueled by her ancestor spirits, the blood of warriors passed coursing through her veins. As the chaos unfolded, Hermes darted through the battlefield, delivering messages and coordinating strikes with precision. Aim for the eyes, the titans have a weakness, he shouted, his presence a guiding light amidst the maelstrom. Kael and Mira fought side by side, firing arrows that struck true, bringing down dragons that swooped down from the skies. We cannot let them breach our lines. Kael roared, his voice a rallying cry. But as Eliana fought valiantly, a chilling laugh echoed through the battlefield, the sound that froze the very air. Hades emerged from the shadows, his eyes glinting with malice. "Foolish mortals, you dare challenge the inevitable?" Eliana's heart sank, her spirit wavering as his presence seeped into her mind. "You reap but a coward hiding in the dark," she retorted, raising her sword defiantly. "We will not be defeated by your darkness." "Courage is a fleeting thing," Hades taunted, raising his staff, summoning shadows that twisted and writhed like serpents. "Embrace your despair, for I shall devour it." The shadows surged forward, seeking to envelop Eliana and her warriors. She felt their icy tendrils clawing at her resolve, whispering her doubts and fears. But then she recalled the vision, the strength of unity, the fire of hope. "Stand firm, we face not just monsters, but our own fears," she shouted, galvanizing her warriors. "Together, we will break these chains." With a fierce battle cry, Eliana surged forward, her sword gleaming as she cleaved through the darkness. The warriors rallied around her, their spirits ignited by her defiance. Arrows flew, blades clashed, and the battle raged with renewed fervor. In the heart of the chaos, Eliana faced Hades, her voice unwavering. "You shall not claim us." She charged, her sword glowing with divine light as she swung it at him. He parried with a wave of shadows, laughter echoing. "You think you can defeat me? I am the Lord of the Dead. Then face the living." Eliana shouted as she summoned every ounce of strength. She struck, the collision sending ripples through the fabric of reality, their struggle a clash of light and dark. But behind her, the battlefield raged on. Kronos' titans advanced, and the cries of her warriors rang in her ears. Yet, as she fought, she sensed a shift in the tide, a flicker of light breaking through the shadows. A sudden burst of energy erupted from the elders, their magic intertwining with the very essence of Etherian. "For the fallen," Thorian's voice rang out, weaving through the chaos. The heavens opened, and light poured down, enveloping Eliana and her warriors, igniting them with vigor. "Remember your purpose," the elders proclaimed. "Honor, legacy, and love will guide you." With renewed strength, Eliana pushed against Hades, her sword piercing through the shadows. "You are nothing, you are a mere echo." With one final swing, she broke through his defenses, her blade finding its mark. A flash of blinding light erupted as Hades staggered back, his form flickering like a dying flame. "This is not over, Eliana," he cried, retreating into the shadows, his laughter reverberating like a dying echo. Eliana stood panting amidst the battlefield, surrounded by her warriors, their spirits able